Let's see what we got. What we got. The real reason NBA YoungBoy keep walking free. I sure want to know. I mean, for he do his little time. He be doing a little 3 years, 4 years. I think the longest was like 4, 5 years. So, I don't know. But for murders, it's the crazy part. He be getting away with murders.
They say nobody beats the feds, but NBA YoungBoy might be. They say nobody beats the feds, but NBA YoungBoy might be the exception they don't want to explain. All we have had in the past 10 years have been arrests and background investigations. Today, we are looking at the real reason NBA YoungBoy still walks as a free man. But to understand why they can't keep him locked up, you'd have to understand how he even got here in the first place. NBA YoungBoy grew up on the streets of Baton Rouge, and for everyone who is familiar, that is one of the most dangerous cities in America.
Everybody want to be somebody. Everybody want a name.
His answer to that question was inconclusive. Let that give you some perspective on the kind of place he came up in. And eventually, your environment will begin to influence you, so your lifestyle stops being something you rap about and becomes something the police start documenting. In 2016, when YoungBoy was still an upcoming rapper, he got himself into the cops' radar for the first time. It was an attempted murder charge. It was a Sunday afternoon on Scenic Highway in Baton Rouge. Broad daylight, people out. A silver vehicle crept up slow and then erupted. Multiple people hit, blood on the pavement. No fatalities, but the kind of chaos that clears a block in seconds. By the time police arrived, witnesses were already gone, already quiet. Authorities identified YoungBoy as one of the shooters.
We're told that Contrell Galden, whose stage name is NBA YoungBoy, was taken into custody last week by federal authorities before a concert in Austin, Texas. And the 17-year-old is accused of being involved in that shootout on Kentucky Street on November 2nd.
The incident went down in Austin, and attempted murder charges in Texas are a really big deal. We're talking decades in prison. His career could have been over before it ever started. The feds pinned him down with surveillance and witness statements, vehicle identification, and victim accounts. But for all the evidence they gathered, the one thing they couldn't lock in was uncontested proof that he was the shooter. And here's why that matters. Baton Rouge is a city with a long memory. The people who live and operate in those streets understand exactly what happens when you cooperate with an investigation. You don't snitch. And not because it's a rumor or a reputation thing, because that community has watched enough to know that cooperating with a case doesn't come with any guarantees for your own safety. When that reality is sitting in the back of a witness's mind, the prosecution's whole structure starts shaking. Witnesses become unavailable. Statements get walked back. The case that looked airtight on paper starts bleeding from every corner. That's reason number one why the system can't hold YoungBoy. The community he comes from doesn't help prosecutors. And in a case this serious, that's the difference between a conviction and a way out. He got that way out when a judge
the shit happened in Texas though, so that ain't got nothing to do with Baton Rouge.
Stated him in 2019. But between that drive-by in 2016 and that December in 2019, YoungBoy kept himself busy. In February of 2018, he made the headlines again on an outstanding warrant for assault, kidnapping, and weapons violations in Georgia. This particular case involved his ex-girlfriend.
NBA YoungBoy, he is going to be staying in jail for longer than anticipated for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend. The judge has ordered that he be held without bail.
According to prosecutors, YoungBoy was caught on surveillance in a hotel hallway in Waycross, Georgia, body slamming his girlfriend at the time and then dragging her into a room. It got worse when they said blood was found in the room afterward. But the only thing that came out of this was a $75,000 bail. And that's largely due to the fact that his girlfriend came out publicly to deny any criminal abuse.
That video
children, man.
is us playing.
It wasn't just one video either. This girl had a singular mission: to take the heat off her man, whatever it took.
Contrell always asks me, am I ready to go home? He always asks me, Nina, you ready to go home? I don't want to go home. I like being with him. So if I was being held under my will, wouldn't that mean that he's not asking me that?
Her statements made prosecutors furious because she was obviously the key witness. You could see the entire buildup on CCTV, but if the victim says nothing happened, you have to take your hands off. That's not a
shit. Tell that to R. Kelly victims. They always saying, man, he ain't doing nothing wrong. We here by choice. And the parents was the ones pushing the issue, and niggas still went down.
Loophole. That's how the law actually works. And YoungBoy has been in situations enough times to know the difference between actually works. You have to take your hands off. That's not a loophole. That's how the law actually works. And Youngboy has been in situations enough times to know the difference between a case built on evidence and a case built on somebody being willing to stand up and say what happened. When that somebody decides to stay quiet, the whole thing collapses. Every time. Then after 2018 came the 2019 shooting at Rolling Loud in Miami.
We begin though with a deadly shooting in Sunny Isles Beach right outside the Trump International Beach Resort.
Witnesses tell us that this all began outside of the Trump International Beach Resort along, again, 180th Street and Collins Avenue, that there was some sort of altercation that took place between two rappers who were actually set to perform at the Rolling Loud Festival this evening.
Rolling Loud draws tens of thousands of fans. It's one of the biggest rap festivals in the country. Packed grounds, thousands of people moving in every direction. Then, shots rang out from somewhere in the crowd. Police reports stated that Youngboy returned fire after someone shot at him first. In all the chaos of that crowd, an innocent bystander was killed. Someone who had nothing to do with any of it, just caught in the wrong place while the crossfire played out around them. That detail, the bystander, is devastating. But here's what matters legally for our subject today. Youngboy was the person who got shot at first. The moment that's established, the entire frame shifts. He's no longer the aggressor in the story. He's the person the state has to explain away. The facts of each case keep landing in Youngboy's favor. Sometimes it's because of how the law works. Sometimes it's because of how the incidents actually played out. Either way, the legal framing does the work for him. No shooting charges were pursued because he was more the victim in this incident. The only thing he was held for was violating his probation from the 2016 case. Youngboy got 90 days in jail and a 14-month performance ban with house arrest and monitoring. After years of legal back and forth, 2019 rolled by and he did not get convicted of attempted murder. Instead, he accepted a plea deal, pleaded guilty to aggravated assault with a firearm, which carried a lesser charge. What that got him was a 10-year suspended sentence, 3 years of active probation, and no active prison time. That whole early stretch taught him was how cases fall apart, how the game is really played when they can't prove what they think they know. That lesson followed him to every case that came after. 2020 came in, and Youngboy certainly didn't make any New Year resolutions. He was arrested in his hometown on federal firearm charges, so he had now graduated from state charges into a whole different arena. Federal cases are known for their higher conviction rates and very strict mandatory sentencing guidelines. When people say nobody beats the feds, they're not being dramatic. The federal conviction rate in the United States hovers somewhere around 90%. By the time there's a federal warrant on your name, the margin for error is basically gone. With the evidence up against him, it looked like this would be the moment his luck ran out. A weapon was found in his vehicle, and he had a prior felony status. That combination under federal law is the kind of thing that removes most of a judge's discretion at sentencing. There's no, well, he seemed like a good kid speech that walks you back from that. A federal arrest warrant was now on his head. Fast forward to 2021, when they cashed in on that warrant. He was in Los Angeles when the cops tried to stop a vehicle he was in.
Rapper NBA Youngboy was arrested and taken into custody. The 21-year-old, whose real name is Kentrell Gaulden, was wanted on an outstanding warrant.
Youngboy refused to pull over, and a high-speed pursuit kicked off. The car eventually stopped, but even then, Youngboy bolted out on foot. Officers scrambled, set up a perimeter, and sent out their canine to track him down. 1 minute he's cruising, next thing you know, he's in FBI custody. At that point, everybody on the street was really wondering if he'd manage this one.
The rapper was previously arrested last year on drug and gun charges. He also spent 90 days in jail in 2019 related to a 2016 shooting.
But once again, Youngboy walked. Well, not exactly free, but he definitely wasn't behind bars. He got released on bond and placed on strict house arrest in Utah. NBA, Youngboy and his team are literally playing the oldest game.
That's what he was on house arrest in Utah for the fucking the running from the police and the high speed chase
in the
and all
book.
that shit.
It was technically a non-violent charge, gun possession with no shooting and no intent to use. His legal team argued he wasn't a flight risk. What the feds saw was a guy with children. with an income, with a team around him. Someone with something to lose by running. Add the electronic monitoring, the 24/7 private security detail, and a controlled residence in Utah, and suddenly the government can say they have eyes on him at all times. A monitored man is a documented man. The charge was serious, but it wasn't the kind that takes away a judge's options entirely. And that room, that legal breathing space, is exactly where Youngboy keeps escaping. Youngboy managed to turn house arrest into a recording session that never ended. Part of the agreement was a home studio in the mansion, and that's where Bring the Hook and No Switch were born. Some of his biggest works out of that period. He even gave hints with the lyrics and took shots at the feds. In Bring the Hook, he said, "The feds know my name. They trying to lock me up in chains." Even mentioned Utah in the same song. "You know I'ma blow that Utah with a lot of pounds." Letting the whole world know he's still running his empire from inside that Utah mansion. Every time an arrest happens, the headlines immediately read, "This is the end." Everybody starts acting like Youngboy just walked off the board for good.
The drama surrounding Baton Rouge native rapper NBA Youngboy continues. The rapper was arrested around 4:30 Tuesday morning on multiple drug charges.
Then the case is weakened. The overwhelming evidence suddenly doesn't stick as much, and the system's own rules let him slip right back into the streets. A bond here, a plea there, sometimes just a delay that drags long enough for the whole thing to lose momentum. And it's always the system's gaps doing the work. Prosecutors have to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Then there's the Baton Rouge factor, where witness reliability becomes a real issue because that is not the kind of neighborhood where you snitch on just anybody. The community has a long memory for what happens when you do. People in that city have watched enough to know that cooperating with a case doesn't come with any guarantees for your own safety. And when that reality is sitting in the back of a witness's mind, the prosecution's whole structure starts shaking. You could argue the feds aren't failing exactly. They're just bound by rules that Youngboy has been navigating for years. And he plays the role of an unbothered man perfectly. One time he was under arrest and treated it like another afternoon with his family. In a career filled with legal battles, Youngboy doesn't slack on the music, and it isn't just about passion. He uses it as both a shield and a weapon. Right from 2016, when he made his break, till today, he's probably seen the inside of a courtroom more times than some lawyers, but he's also spent a ridiculous amount of time in the recording booth. In those years, he's released at least 5 studio albums, 3 compilation albums, 26 mixtapes, and over 100 singles. Well over 140 individual projects and songs, while juggling court dates, charges, and house arrest. He's till today one of the most streamed artists on YouTube with over 15 billion channel views. And here's the part a lot of people gloss over. That number didn't come from some quiet stretch where he got to focus on music without distraction. That number came while he was fighting cases, while he was on probation, while he was running from police in Los Angeles and recording from a Utah mansion under federal supervision. The output never stopped, and the audience kept growing. That's not a coincidence. More songs means more money, and more money means better lawyers. But more songs also means more visibility, and that
no matter how many albums he owed, like he could owe the label like 3-4 albums. This nigga gonna give him 18. You know what I'm saying? Like, that nigga go crazy with the music.
buys you something the legal system doesn't hand out, public pressure. The louder the streets and the fans get, the harder it is.
Back then, he had way more quality songs than non-quality, but now he just be like dropping anything.
Is for the system to quietly hold you down without headlines screaming about it. Every single drop becomes leverage, a reminder that he's still relevant, still in control, even while the feds are circling like they've got him figured out. He doesn't play with his fan base either. What that gives him is the ability to tell his side of the story first. And you know how that goes. He who controls the narrative controls the game. He uses his lyrics so heavily that sometimes he wanders into controversial territory. Some of the things he said make things very messy. Good example. In 2022, a prosecutor tried to use a line in his song Gunsmoke where he referenced specific guns, FN, Glock, MAC-10s. The attempt was to draw a line between those lyrics and the weapons found in his possession when he got busted. Fortunately for Youngboy, the judge ruled it out. But that kind of blur he stirs up with his words has his prosecutors constantly desperate and reaching for something that keeps slipping through their fingers. There's a thin line between artistic expression and self-snitching, and Youngboy has been dancing along it for years. What makes it even more frustrating for the prosecution is that the more they try to use the music as evidence, the more it draws attention to the fact that they don't have enough without it. So what's the real answer to why the feds can't keep NBA Youngboy locked up? The pattern repeats. Community silence in Baton Rouge, victims who won't testify, incidents that flip into self-defense, charges that technically allow for bail, and a music machine that funds the legal team that exploits every gap. 5 reasons, stacked on top of each other, working every single time. But let's not write the whole thing off because the risk is still real, and it could be any day that big final headline comes up.
And today here in federal court, a motion was filed to revoke his pretrial release and force him to come back to Baton Rouge.
I just want to be better than yesterday.
Judge Shelley Dick signed that motion and issued a warrant for his arrest this afternoon.
And the risk is still real. Youngboy keeps pulling himself back into difficult territory, probation violations, a lifestyle that never really cools down. Most of these cases weren't cleanly closed either. Charges being reduced, dismissed, or unresolved is not the same as being innocent. The federal gun case ended with a plea to a lesser charge, not an acquittal. There's a difference between walking out of a courtroom and being cleared, and Youngboy has done a lot more of the former than the latter. The file doesn't disappear. Every new case gets read in the context of everything that came before it. But here's the uncomfortable part, the thing this whole story actually leads to. When you lay it all out, the reasonable doubt standard, the right to confront witnesses, the presumption of innocence, the right to bail on non-violent charges, none of that is a loophole. Those are constitutional rights, the same protections that exist for every single citizen. And Youngboy has benefited from all of them. The girlfriend who went on camera to deny it, the self-defense framing at Rolling Loud, the house arrest deal that kept him recording, the lawyers who showed up because the money never stopped coming in. Youngboy found a way to use every part of the system rather than trying to find a way around it. So the real question isn't whether he's surgical. We'll be looking at this whole thing all wrong if we think like that. We should rather be asking whether the system is failing or whether it's working exactly the way it was designed to. Because the rights protecting NBA Youngboy are the same rights protecting everyone else. He just happens to be the person showing the whole world what it looks like when someone actually...
That nigga just went to jail twice, I think, in 1 month last month. So it's about to be over for Kodak. It happened one more time, they gonna sit him down at least 8 to 10 years. But yeah, they really ain't tell us nothing we ain't already know. You know what I'm saying? No snitches, not enough evidence, all that other good shit. But that nigga better keep his nose clean, cause there's only so many chances they're gonna keep on giving that nigga, dog. Y'all hit that like button, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We gonna get next.
Do it for the bar, just do it for the bar, just do it for the bar.